Hello and welcome to Viewfinders. This is the program stream where I talk to photographers and talented creative people, and I'm really excited today. We have Brandon Nesbitt here. So welcome. Thanks for doing this.
Appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me to do this. This is cool.
Of course. So Brandon is like shoots a lot of things, but especially landscapes, cityscapes, places, street scenes, and that's what I really was, and very specific things within that, and specific things in the city. But I was drawn to that. We met on a Mazda event a few years ago, somewhere in either California or Oregon.
Yeah,
Oregon. Okay.
Eugene, Oregon was the first leg. It was Eugene up to Seattle.
Yes.
With my a partner in it was Andrew Eggers.
Okay.
And I forget who you were with, but
I was with Johnny, who was a Mazda, like an RX-7 tuner guy.
Oh yeah.
He was cool. We got along, and it was fun. Like I got to reach out to him next time I'm in LA, because after spending like 2 days in the car together, it was like, hey, do you want to go hang out and get a drink in Seattle? It was fun. Like Mazda is so good for the like photographer community, not just picking like influencers with like a billion followers, but like trying to find talented people and people with just a different way of looking at things. And so it's always cool to when they bring people together like this, because like that's how I met you, and then I've been following your work ever since, and I enjoy it, and I thought like, oh, I absolutely want to have you on this little chat discussion, because I really just like getting all different kinds of photographers, creatives, and people. I mean, I've talked to a lot of car photographers. Obviously, that's like certainly my wheelhouse. But getting the whole range, like, is I'm like a weird completionist, I guess. So I want to it's like, oh, get like a landscape person and all this stuff. It's really appealing to me, and and the whole point of this channel is a little bit of like education about photography, or especially having a discussion about it. And so I know, like, I'm going to be educated a little bit today. Like I know I'm going to learn something from you. So I'm really excited. So I'm just thrilled to have you here. So thanks again.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Let's jump in.
All right. Well, yeah, before we even get to any of this, I wanted to, so you were out last night shooting. This is right on Instagram. This is not in the photos that I selected beforehand. Like I usually pick stuff from Portfolio and Instagram. You posted this today, and I thought, oh, this is so cool. I really love this one. But tell us a little about this.
Yeah, so I'm here in Greensboro, North Carolina. It's about it's the next town in between Winston, which is where this fire is, or actually the fire is north of Winston. It's a Pilot Mountain State Park, and I actually didn't even know that it was happening until, let's see, Sunday, and I was like, oh wow, that's crazy, because having lived out in California, you're a little more used to them, right? It happens. And then I was listening to the news here about how dry it's been here over this past month. Just for some context, they were saying that normally in November, this area gets about 3 inches of rain, and we've had 0.02. So,
Wow.
it's been dry. And, that's in the foothills of the mountains that, head out west into like Asheville and Boone and stuff like that. And, like the Blue Ridge Parkway and stuff. So this is like the foothill area. And it started to spread out there. And I was like, oh, I've never shot photos of fire before, right?
Yeah.
So I linked up with this photographer who lives actually not that far from me, who like uh, chases like hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff like that. And we linked up and went to this spot. It's actually the I think the third photo was the spot I went to first. Nope, sorry. Back one more. Yeah. So this is the overlook for a pilot mountain that's on the highway. Um, and essentially what you should see there, if the smoke wasn't there and if it was during the day, there's the top of the knob, which is uh, the pilot mountain. It's there's like
Okay.
a
You can
knob
see.
at the
Yeah.
top of it. Um, so the fire from this view, and as far as I know, it's on both sides, or it was last night. Um, so the fire from this view is on the left side of it, and then those other shots were from the eastern side, which was in this photo, the right side of it. Um, and so I started here, and then I linked up with this other guy who knew more of the other side of the mountain, and we were just out there, zoom lenses, of course, or at least for me, that's a of course. You know, I've never done any type of photos like this. I have zero experience in this wheelhouse, so I definitely didn't want to, overextend and get myself into trouble.
Sure.
So these are all shot with the 100 to 400 from a distance
Okay.
where it was still cold outside. You couldn't feel any of the heat. You know,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know, uh,
This looks
you
so
know,
close. This one really like beautiful. I mean, I obviously we've talked about we discussed this. We said it is like it is bad. It's not good. We're not saying that this is good that this happened, but it is obviously a very compelling imagery. And
yeah, it was. Yeah, so last night was interesting. When you're out here in this area, I mean, it's very rural, right? So like, rural North Carolina, you're already 30-40 minutes north of Winston-Salem, which is a city, right? But you're pretty far north, and it gets to farmland real quick.
okay.
So last night, what I saw was it was kind of like uh like a show, almost like folks wanted to come out to see the fire line.
Oh
So there
wow.
was so much traffic, like out
Wow.
in in these rural areas that on any other Monday night would have one or two cars passing. Very, very, very busy out there. Which I get. There's interest. You don't really see this thing up close, really, ever, if you're here. If you don't go to areas that have this type of stuff happen on a regular basis.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I never hear about this happening like on the East Coast. Like you kind of
Exactly.
it kind of seems like a West Coast more common issue.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, usually it's wetter here. I mean, right? That's just kind of what it is. We get more rain over here. That obviously it's not a good thing. California needs rain.
Right.
Wyoming, right?
Yeah.
But that's just kind of what it is, right? And so yeah, it was just really interesting to see how busy it was, of just people just looking and just all from a distance, of course, but just looking and just kind of going and taking in the sight, um, you know, wrapped up in all the sadness, right? From the animals, right? That,
Yeah.
that are up there, and then whatever the regrowth is going to look like. I mean, that's a lot of land up there. The last that I heard, which was yesterday, was somewhere in the 180-acre range, which,
Okay.
I mean, for this area, that's large.
Yeah.
That's the whole top of the state park is
Yeah.
is burning. This morning, went out for sunrise because I was like, oh, with all the smoke, the sunrise should be a decent sunrise, but it wasn't. And when I went up to the mountain there, it looked like a lot of the smoke had dissipated. So I don't know if it was smoldering out or whatever have you there. I actually haven't checked the news to see what's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just a whole experience. I mean, um, all of these, actually, I think one or two of these photos were shot on the 100 prime, but still, far away. Right.
Yeah. It's cool. It looks like it was, you know, like cloudy, or I guess that's smoke, not fog. That's
Smoke.
smoke. So yeah, just the way that
Yep.
the way the fire casts like the whole sky is pretty crazy. I'm sure it looked crazy in real life. Or I don't
Yeah.
know if it looked as, I don't know. Sometimes you take long exposure and it looks, better when you take the shot than it did to the eye.
Exactly. Yeah, and that is definitely a case here, right? I mean,
Oh,
we were so far back. I mean, pretty much all of this one, and those past few, were all on the 100 to 400, almost fully zoomed in.
yeah.
That one too. That one.
Hmm.
Actually, that was probably 100 prime, the first one. Um, but when you're just standing out there, I mean, it looked like just a fire line, right? Up on a mountain. It's really dark out there, right? Because you're so far from the
Yeah.
city, so it's pretty dark. So it just looked like this trail burning, like where the line was of the flame as it went up the hill.
Wow.
And luckily, it wasn't very windy last night, so both on, I guess, my side of the thing where you could capture the photo, and then also on the side of it didn't blow up the entire mountain and burn the thing
Yeah.
down. Because it really wasn't windy. It was pretty slow. Looked pretty slow moving. Um, but but yeah, I mean, this here is a long exposure. This is probably maybe 10 or 15-second shot. So, yeah, you've got the smoke there, and then the light from the fire is hitting the smoke and illuminating the smoke in the dark sky.
Yeah.
There were some that I tried to get the stars above the flames. Those didn't quite come out the way I wanted to. I'll have to work more on them, and I just didn't have time to do that. But,
Yeah.
um, but like because from your naked eye, you could definitely see the stars. Like
Okay.
that's how dark it was out there, even with this fire going. It was so dark that you could see not all the stars, but a decent amount.
Wow. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you shot that and captured that. It's really incredible to see. But smooth transition. I want to talk about like how did you get into photography, and how did you like what is your backstory with photography or anything?
Yeah. So, my mom bought me a digital camera when I was 18. All right, so it's several years ago. And it was right when kind of like digital cameras were, like that new thing, right? Like it was, like, oh, what is film anymore? We're gonna all move to this new thing, right? So
Right,
like
right.
for like oh 02, oh 03.
Yeah,
And
I had a camera then. It was like not even like, I think you put it on the maximum mode and it could shoot like a 1600 pixel photo, and you could only
yeah,
fit four of them on a card or
yeah.
something.
It was like 3.1 megapixel
Yeah.
cameras, but it was my own camera, right? It was like, okay, cool. Obviously way pre cell phones with cameras and all
Oh
that
yeah.
stuff. So, I had a camera, and I remember she bought it for me right before we all drove down to Miami to go see my sister. We were living up in Connecticut at the time,
Okay.
and we took a road trip down to Miami. So, here I am. I'm out on South Beach, right? I'm 18, and I'm photographing all the cars, and just Miami at night. And even like early on, when I think back, like night photography, it was just interesting. Like cities in the lights. Like I didn't know how I was doing it, but I knew that little AV button on the camera,
Hmm.
it was holding this thing open, and if I put it on something solid like a tripod or a rock wall, right,
Yeah.
it was going and taking these photos that were cool. It was like, oh, that's a lot of light on that building, and it looks cool.
Yeah.
And that really started like the love of night photos. Um and so let's see, yes, that was like '03. And then I would go to New York. '04, I went with one of my friends, and we did the New Year's thing in Times Square. And I was able to go and take the photos at night, and just kind of kept going, with it. Then moved to North Carolina in '05. I went out to the Blue Ridge a lot. Um, and then I kept getting like nicer and nicer point and shoots, right? So like, as that camera technology started to grow,
Yeah.
those early Sonys, like the H20 and the first getting the HD videos, right? And all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Um I just kind of, kept exploring with night photography in cities. Um and then I finally got my first a DSLR in 2011. I bought a Canon 60D. So at the time, I worked at Best Buy, right? And I was just reading like the cards, right? Like, I didn't really know what the stuff meant, right? 11 frames per second, right? Whatever. So I picked Canon, right? Because of how the shutter sounded, right?
Oh
That
yeah, because you get to hear them all day. You're hearing them. You're picking them up. You're
had
trying them.
had no actual data for like what I should pick, right? So and this was pre Sony's entry into the
Right. Yeah.
mirrorless or whatever.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
it
I
was
was
pre
gonna
that.
ask like why wouldn't you stick with Sony? But yeah, like back then they
Yeah,
were not on the radar really.
yeah, they were only or and I might be wrong and just not know that they were making them, but at least I didn't know or didn't have access to anything other than their point and shoots. Uh,
Right. Well, I think they were doing stuff. They were kind of sharing stuff with Nikon, but it was almost like a reskinned Nikon type of thing where they were sharing some
Interesting. I didn't
technology,
even know that.
it was mirror SLRs, and they were just they had the least support, like
Hmm.
the least accessories, the least support. Like it was a small tier. It'd be like getting um like I can't even think Olympus had DSLRs, but like no one was buying them. It was
Yeah,
kind of the
yeah,
equivalent to
yeah, yeah,
that or
yeah,
something.
yeah. So I remember at the time, it was a Best Buy here in Greensboro. It was the Canon 60D, uh, the Nikon D90,
I had one of
right?
those.
And then what was Canon's higher version at the time? It was the
There was
this
a 5D.
7D,
70.
70. Yeah. So see, I didn't even know about the 5Ds because they didn't have them there, right? So so I was like, okay, this 90D looks expensive, right? Right. And it doesn't sound as good, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna get this Canon, right? And here we are now, 10 years later, a decade later, three Canons later,
Wow.
have what, 5L lenses, right? I've I'm really bought
Yeah.
into them. So
Yeah, it's that emotional connection of the shutter. Like that's it. That's an important part of that sound. I mean,
yeah, like yeah. At the time, I was like, this must be great because it sounds like it's better, you know.
yeah,
And you know, but so okay, so then that was 11, and then 2012, I moved to Philly, and that is where I think this whole thing really went from like just something I did as a hobby here and again, like this little carry around camera that I would put in my pocket, right, and take
Mhm.
photos here and there. So 2012, I'm in Philly, and I had a lot of ample time after work. Um, my now ex-wife, but at the time wife, was getting her PhD in 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 Philly, so she would be on campus until 1, 2 in the morning, and I'm like, all right, well, it's either this or a PS4, right, or PS3 or whatever, right? So I started to go out in Philly, right, and through Instagram, met up with local photographers there. I didn't know the city that well. I just moved there. Like, hey, where's the skyline view, right? And we just go around really trying to learn how to, I guess, work my camera better. I was having this issue where uh, I was trying to use autofocus at night, right? Which on some of the older cameras didn't work well at all.
Right, right.
Now the ones now are fine. You just tap the button, it finds it, you're fine. Cool. But the 60D, not a shot. So I took a night photography class at I think it was called like Philadelphia Artworks or Philadelphia Photo Works, something like that. It's in like the spring Northern Liberties section of the city. Uh and like it just changed it for me. Like they had a guy there who would be similar now to me, right? Who's just like, all right, look, you do it like this, right? Like here's how it's done. Let's go outside and the whole class, right? And let's see what we do. And like it just clicked. It was like, okay, so you turn it to manual focus and then you focus the lens and now it's clear. Oh man, look at Philly, right? And then
Yeah.
so that was 2013 and it just took off, man. It
So
just
much of the stuff with the cameras is not fighting your gear. It's not that it's not that the camera's going to do everything, but it's just like you're just stopping it from hindering you.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Like I just didn't know how it worked. Like I was getting mad. I was like, I spent like $1,000 and it won't focus at night. Why not? you know, and 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 then I figured out this one thing, and I'm like, oh man, and I mean, I'd be going out 3, 4 times a week, to different spots in Philly, Spring Garden Street Bridge, Walnut Street Bridge, just trying to get every vantage point. I even went out once in 2015. I wanted to see the Schuylkill River frozen. So
Oh wow.
it had gotten down to it's like a wind chill like -15, and I'm sure that the whole river didn't freeze, but at least like the top layer, right? So
Yeah.
like you can see the ice with the city skyline in the background. So I went out for sunrise, a blue hour, time,
Oh
and
yeah.
had the balaclava on and the 4 pairs of pants. I was like, I'm getting this shot, and it's like it's kind of crazy to think back, like just in that really like 3-year period in Philly, I went from really not knowing how to use my camera at all to the dude who's gonna go out and photograph a frozen river with a -20 wind chill.
Yeah. Wow.
And
I mean, that's dedication, but that's like going out there and and doing that and going out and taking pictures of the fires and just I mean, like you gotta be there to get the shot, and that's like so much of it. And it sounds like with especially landscapes and cityscapes and things like that's there's no easy way because you gotta like get out there and probably be uncomfortable and wait and put in the time.
well, you could just Photoshop some lightning in there if you wanted to.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's not how I roll.
Well, we
So
gotta we gotta jump we gotta get to some images, and I also want
okay,
to ask you like how you because it sounds like you've already like we've been on for 20 minutes and you've already mentioned like 5 places you lived, which
oh yeah,
which
yeah,
which is like I don't you're very well lived in places. So yeah, I put these in here. We'll get through, but I put some car ones in. I liked these. I
sure,
thought these were cool
for sure.
compositions for sure, and
Man,
those are fun. Like
I
lowriders
I love
are
this
so
shot.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is from the King of the Streets festival. This was 2018 in San Francisco. I don't know if they'll be having it this year, but uh, um, yeah, King of the Streets.
Awesome. Yeah, that's something to definitely check out. That's
Definitely a
cool. They
great
have
thing.
it's very cool.
Yeah. So
Um,
there's a just real quick about that. So they do a show first, and then that part there is like the cruise after, and they
okay.
essentially shut down Mission Street
Oh
uh
wow.
in the Mission District, and they just go back and forth. And it's funny, so that's one of my higher sold prints, and the guy, both guys in that photo, reached out to me like, hey, that's my car. So I was like, oh man, that's dope. So I mailed them both prints of this photo. And like it was just pure luck. Like there's a couple photos after it where they were both tilted the same way, and then there was some where they were down, but like I got the shot where they were like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I love that photo.
Yeah, that's awesome. The colors are awesome too. So it looks like a beautiful day and a good time of
Beautiful
day and
day in the
everything.
bay, always.
um, yeah, this was great. Um, yeah, what can you tell us?
So this was during the second round of a protest for the George Floyd murder.
Last summer
Yeah, 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 yeah. Last summer in
or
Oakland.
yeah, 2020
Or,
summer.
yeah, yeah, wow. Yeah, that would be 2020. Yeah, 2020 in Oakland. And so there's a different photo that I have that I have posted a couple times of the actual first night,
Okay.
where it was before the building is so the boards on the windows didn't have the artwork on it. um
Oh,
and we were just out there, like, I you know similar to this wildfire thing. I was like, hey, you want to go and take some photos of this protest, man? Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel like we should be out there taking photos, but it's not my wheelhouse. So I asked a couple of my friends, hey, do you want to come with me? And yeah, it actually only ended up being one guy who came with me, my friend Joe. Um, and we went, and on our way back, we walked past this, and they had, switched the words on the sign, and uh the boards at that time didn't have the artwork, so it was just spray paint on them. And we took a photo, and then I was like, man, I messed up the framing, right? I didn't take it tall enough
oh
to
yeah.
be able to print out. So I just happened to have that day. I just happened to have this hoodie on. It's for the Black Panthers, um, and it says Oakland on it, obviously.
Yeah.
And I just happen to have it on that day. No plan to see this. Just so this photo here is on Juneteenth in Oakland, and which was a week later, right? So we came back, and this one's more staged, but it was only staged just to get the framing right for a printing. And I actually didn't even notice the difference in the artwork until a friend of mine pointed it out. She was like, "Oh, I want to buy the first one, the original one, right?" Because it's a subtle difference, right? Because you aren't really looking at that. That's not the piece, right? But no, that this was a crazy night.
It's very powerful. It's beautiful. So here's the lightning. So I put a couple of these in a row here, and I don't know what goes into capturing lightning, but it looks pretty spectacular,
man. Storm chasing is crazy. So right before I left the Bay, summer of 2020, actually pretty much right after that a previous photo there of Oakland, I was watching some YouTube videos about chasing storms, and I heard about this thing called a strike finder, right? It's a device that goes on top of your camera. It's supposed to read the signals or the
really?
Yeah, it reads like the frequency that comes right before the strike of lightning, right? And if you've got your camera set to manual settings, right, manual focus, it'll fire it off, right? Okay, cool. So I ordered one and actually flipped to the St. Louis one. Yeah.
Or the other one.
So this was on my road trip across the country, right? So I buy the strike finder. It's a really small company, so you actually talk to the owners, right? And they were really cool because I was like, okay, it'll take about a week to get here, but I'm leaving in 3 days. So she was like, okay, well, can I ship it anywhere to meet you on your trip? So I got it shipped to my friend's house in the Tetons. I picked it up. It didn't rain all the way until St. Louis. Okay? We're talking about at that point about a week, right? I get to St. Louis, and I was car camping the whole trip. And then St. Louis, it was hot. It was like 90 something. I was like, oh, I'm not sleeping in the car, right? So I go to get a hotel, and I'm looking at the weather, and I see it says like severe thunderstorms, lots of lightning, right? And I stopped my booking. I'm like, you know what? Let's go see if this strike finder thing works. So I was at that point, I was way on the western side of St. Louis, like south of the city. I don't even know what town it was. And it's starting to rain by that time. So I'm driving up to the arch. I know exactly where I want to go. So this spot right here is in East St. Louis.
Are we looking towards the river or from the river?
So you're actually on the other side. So this is
okay.
So this
is the river near the arch? I lived here as a kid, but I was really young, and then my family went into the arch, and I went to school, and they went without me, and I'm still really bitter. They went to the top and everything. I've never been.
That's messed up.
I know. I know. I think my sister was sick, and they ended up going or something. It was bizarre, but
you got to go and get up there.
Is it still open for that?
I don't know if it's open right now.
No, right.
During all this, but yes.
Okay.
Outside of the COVID, yes, it is open. I wouldn't go in the summer. It's hot, man. It's it's really small and cramped up there. Yeah, it's hot. Right. So okay. So this photo, right? I'm set up, and I've actually got some videos of this. I've got the thing set up on my camera. At this point, I'm using a Canon 5D Mark IV, right?
All right.
I have it set up. I have my L lens, which, by the way, I had dropped the day before this. My 24 to 70 version 2 2.8. I was talking on the phone to my brother. He was on my Bluetooth. I'm in a Kansas City, and I go to switch the lens, and somehow I still don't know exactly what happened, but it fell off my seat of my car and hit the ground, right?
Oh,
And so I picked it up, and like it looked fine. I was like, okay, cool, no problem. The photo I was shooting in Kansas City at the time was this really wide photo, right? So it didn't matter if it was zooming in or not. So I'm like, okay, cool, no problem, works fine. The lens focuses, great shot. The next day, which was this day, I was looking at my lens, and you turn the zoom, and it won't turn. It clicks back. Like if you try to zoom out, it spins and it clicks. But you can pull the lens to zoom.
Oh.
So it's been a year and a half of that. But anyway, so I'm set up, and I'm standing, and this is probably, I mean, it's really not a good idea, right? This place in East St. Louis is a 3-story cement and metal staircase on a field, right? And there's a flagpole, like maybe, I don't know, 100 feet from you in a lightning storm.
Where do you think the best place to be in that situation would be?
Man, I don't know, but but I justified it in my mind by being on the bottom floor of this concrete and metal structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
May have, I don't know.
Yeah.
But when I went up to the second floor, you were getting a lot of wind and rain spray, and then the third floor is open. So I was like, no, that's obviously not. But even on the second floor, there was a lot of spray. So on the first floor, and actually that's why the photo is shot so low. So the bottom part of this, I had to go and darken up. That's the rail line right there.
Okay.
Whereas if you were up on the third floor, you would be up high enough, right?
I see.
But yeah, so this right here, I got about, so the Strike Finder, it works well, but it doesn't always work, right? So like you would be able to see lightning and be like, oh, why didn't it pick up that? And then you would get other ones where it's like, oh, you worked, but I didn't see any lightning, but okay, cool. You know, like
sounds like a radar detector where it's like,
yeah, exactly. And then I got back to the to the campground that I was staying at, and I just started to like look at the photos, and I was like, oh, you know, is that really a shot of like straight down the arch? Like that's not moved. That's not.
Oh, you didn't. So you didn't even realize you had caught it until
Nope.
you're reviewing later.
Yeah,
I think there's one more next. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Is this the same time?
Same spot. Yeah, same
spot. Okay.
Same storm. This is probably the longest lightning storm I've ever seen or ever witnessed. Granted, it was the first one I was trying to photograph, but like it just seemed like it kept going. Like,
wow,
we're talking probably over a course of 3 hours, and even when I left, it was still lightning. I mean, yeah, it has started to slow down some, but you know, it was still going.
Yeah.
And I just chose to leave because I was like, I'm exhausted, and you know, I just driven from Kansas City, and I was, it was probably about 1 a.m. at this point. But that was like my first, I guess, storm chasing. I mean, I don't really know if you would call it that. I guess it was just lucky, right? I mean, that there was a massive lightning storm over a city that has an arch, but and I was able to get somewhere for cover, right? Even though I don't know that it was the best spot to be, um, I didn't get wet and I didn't get struck, so
There you go. That's so
um,
cool. Yeah, I was trying to capture some lightning once in like Wyoming, and we were like just on the road, the middle of like nothing around us for
sure.
miles, and I was outside of the car like trying to shoot with the car and get the lightning, and my friend Daniel who was driving was like, "Do you like stop doing this? Like this is dangerous."
Which is probably very factual.
I think
I
so.
mean,
Yeah, yeah. No, he was looking out for me. He was not being a jerk.
yeah, probably very, very, very dangerous. And then so then we've got the one from Greensboro on here, right? Is that the next,
um, is it?
or is that one not on there?
I don't know if it is.
Okay,
We've
that's
got
fine.
this one. Okay.
That's fine. So essentially, in between this, the St. Louis and the Manhattan was one here in Greensboro, and I kept trying to go out, like, over summers, right? You get a lot of summer storms, and I kept trying to go out, and I couldn't get anything, right? Like it was like either really bad lightning, sorry, bad in the sense that it wasn't actually showing through the clouds, right?
Oh yeah.
or like the storm would be too far from the cities, right? Because the St. Louis thing spoiled me, right? I was like, all I did was just drive up and I took a photo of lightning striking the middle of the arch, right? Like, and then I've got some where the lightning actually hit the arch, right? And I've got that, and I was like, is it really that easy? Okay, cool. Like I'm about to be a storm chaser, right?
Yeah.
And then it didn't work out hardly ever here in Greensboro until last August, or this past August. And I caught this photo of like the only tall building downtown. It's the Lincoln Financial Center, and it actually got struck on the roof. And that was the photo that I caught. And I had literally just pulled up to that spot. Like I was trying to figure out like where to go, right? And I
Wow.
just pulled up, and there's a power lines in the way, and like I just set it up, and the strike finder did its thing
Wow.
on the first shot, and it was like, yo, did that building just get hit? And did I just get a photo of it? And then the strike finder didn't find anything else the whole rest of the night. But it got that photo. So
Yeah.
then move forward to this. Okay. Manhattan, right? So I was up here for the 9/11 tribute lights, right? I've always wanted that photo for years, right? And then so now I'm back, over here, like, okay, let's do it. And then I was like, it's been the 20 years, right? So
Yeah.
maybe they'll have them up longer or whatever. They weren't, but I planned it out so it worked, right? It was I was out for they turn on at sunset and go off as sunrise, and I was out the entire time. I planned all my spots. I went to like 15 locations.
Wow.
Um,
So like all through the night.
yep, yep.
Wow.
My sister now lives in the Lower East Side here in Manhattan. So probably around like 2 a.m. I got finished with the stuff in the city, and then I took her car and drove over to Jersey to get from this spot here, which is in Bayonne. And then I went up into Montclair, and went up to Eagle Rock and got those photos. So that was Saturday to Sunday, right? So then I'm hanging out with a friend of mine on Monday, and we went out to dinner. And then we went to shoot some photos over near her place in the Upper East Side. And I went to go and get on the train. And I guess on Mondays in the Upper East Side, it's not busy for the trains at like 8 o'clock at night. So I'm just waiting in the station, and I have an app on my phone, right? lightning tracker app, right?
Okay. I didn't know
And
there
I
was
had
such a
not.
thing.
Yeah, who knew? Uh, and I didn't expect any of these pings, right? But I've got my Apple Watch, right? And I feel the thing on my arm. I'm thinking it's Instagram or whatever, right? I've got some time, and I look at it and I'm like, lightning strike, because it says like lightning was reported near you, or you know something like that, right? And I'm like, lightning, New York, September, and I'm here. So I look at so I open it up, and you can see in the app they've got like the storm cell and then all the red dots for the lightning.
Okay.
Man, I tell you, I opened this app up, and like it was the most major lightning storm I'd ever watched on this app. And it was
Wow.
like right west of the city, right? So coming across North Jersey. I was like, oh man, it's already been a long day, but I'm doing this, So I called my sister. So I'm up on what, 72nd and Second, and they live down at, I don't know, it's like Avenue A and 20 something, right? So I called her. I'm like, hey, can I borrow the car? And she's like, what do you need to do? I'm like, so there's a lightning storm, and I'm gonna go chase lightning in Jersey. And she's like, okay. But her husband needed the car in the morning, right? So I was like, all right. Well, I'll be there in like 10 minutes. So I left the train station and I just took an Uber or a Lyft actually down to her place. Got there, got in the car. I'm leaving to go out of the city. Let's see, go through the Holland Tunnel. By the time I get into Jersey, man, it's like a movie. Like there's just like lightning everywhere. It's pouring, and I'm like, okay, here we go. So I get to this spot, and I have both cameras at that point. So now I have the R5 and the 5D Mark IV. So I got both set up. And the difference in the two Manhattan photos that you randomly picked is one is from the 5D Mark IV and one is from the R5.
Wow.
The R5 I had set up with the Strike Finder, and as always, Strike Finder found some great ones and then missed ones that were right there.
Oh.
And then on the 5D Mark IV, which is what this photo is from, and that's it's in landscape. This was shot on the 5D Mark IV with the 100 prime, with just a with it just set up to shoot every 2 seconds. So
Okay.
it's a shutter speed of 2 seconds. Probably f8 or f11. I'm not sure. ISO 100, and just to keep going.
Yeah.
Right. And man, I'm standing out here, and this place that you're standing is like literally you're like on the bay, right? Or this is like, I mean, there's like some gravel and then the water, right? So there's no protection, right? Like at all. You're next to the shipyard or the dock, the docks. So you get all the rain, all the wind, everything. So my sister has a BMW SUV, right? So I use the car to like shield the cameras and me.
Oh, okay.
So I had like,
When we were talking about being safe from lightning, I was thinking like, and I don't know if you did this, but if you like had the camera, if you're like laying down in the car, like you know what I mean? If you like sat in the car and like had the camera somewhat like
at a certain point, I did sit in the back of the car, but that was only
yeah,
just because my legs hurt. After walking around
after a while,
New York.
yeah.
But no, I mean, like, I don't know. You're just out there, and like So this particular shot, I was doing my Instagram stories, right? And like just this bolt came down and hit the top of the World Trade Center. And like just like my genuine reaction, like I'm on my stories, like, oh shit. I just saw, the World Trade Center get hit by lightning, right? Like, because I mean, obviously that's what the lightning rod is for. I mean, that's the whole point of it. But you don't see that happen often,
No,
like
no.
it's not something that you're just standing out there and like, oh, wow, because it's really bright, like you really
It
don't
looks like
know.
it.
Yeah, like you.
It's also such a like massive bolt. I mean,
Yes,
it's like that's the biggest building in New York, and it's like
yes,
so substantial looking. I'm gonna switch to the oh wait, the other this one.
yeah, yeah. Uh, so and this one's from the R5. Um, and yeah, I mean, so let's see. So the other one was the 100 prime. This one's a 24 to 70. Um, so as far as just like zoom, this was probably zoomed in probably at 70. Um, and then the other one's a prime, obviously. So, um, but yeah, massive bolts of lightning. you know,
Yeah.
um, like you really feel really, really little when you're already next to this massive skyline, and then like the whole sky is just like lit up by, you know, I don't know what's that, probably 30,000 foot,
Yeah.
bolt of lightning, right?
Yeah.
It's like holy shit.
And it probably
And
goes up well beyond like what we're able to see here.
yeah, it it is an experience. I definitely want to continue the storm chasing. For me, I like doing it over cities, right? Like, there's plenty that folks do like out in the desert and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just not my thing. This here, like seeing the buildings get struck, and oh man, that is
You get a sense of the scale if you
man.
wouldn't get if it's like a distant mountain or a ridge or a plains or something.
Yeah,
Um, plus, it's also like if it's gonna hit something in nature, I mean, it could almost hit anything. Whereas this, it's like it kind of gives you like you can set up this shot. You can't predict it, but this is as close as you can predict where it's
sure,
gonna
sure,
hit.
sure. So now it's like a goal of like, oh, okay, now can I be there and get a photo of it hitting the Statue of Liberty, right? Or
Yeah,
like, can I get a photo of it hitting the Empire State Building? Right? Like, um, uh, like maybe had that storm moved a little further north, maybe, because so you can see the Empire State Building there on the left.
yeah, yeah,
So it's not horribly far away, right? I mean, it's only what, like so let's see, that's on 34th and 5th, and the World Trade Center is downtown. That's under First Street, so it's probably what, like 40 blocks, right? So it's not
yeah.
really that
Something.
far. Like in theory, I mean, that bolt of lightning could have easily hit the Empire State Building, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
not far. Um,
I
you
like how
know,
you can see the like because I didn't know it was raining, but I like how you can see like you can kind of see like the texture of like the rain on the water in the foreground. That's pretty cool.
yeah. So what ended up happening, and I learned this now in my 3 cities that I've captured this, is that either get the strikes before the storm, or sorry, before the rain, or as the major rain passes. Because yes, I have plenty of photos where you can't see the skyline at all, right?
Oh,
Right,
okay.
the lightning striking, but it's such a heavy storm that you can't see the lights of, of,
Wow.
of the city,
Makes
which
sense.
also is crazy to think about, right? I mean, this is only, I mean, this is just a river in between, Jersey and New York. I mean, yeah, it's a big river, but I mean, it's not really that far, right? That you're looking, and the storm is um so thick, right? That you can't see New York City. It's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, so these photos here were after the rain part of it had passed, and then it was just a bunch of lightning. I mean, it was still like raining here and there, but it was a bunch of lightning.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I want to get to more of these images.
Sure.
This one I chose. This is a Bixby Canyon Bridge. Many car interested people are familiar with it because it's like it's past Monterey and it's in like beautiful driving country down the one. And like I've definitely stopped here. Like I've shot on this bridge and I've stopped here, but I've never seen like this perspective, and I've never seen like this height over the road. And I've never really been there this time of day. Like I really like a lot of things about this image, but especially the twilight or the blue hour light on the bridge, and of course like the car, the long exposure taillights are really cool.
So this was actually around like midnight, right?
Oh
So
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
so we were headed out this night to shoot Milky Way. It was clear on the coast, which, as is rare. Uh,
Yeah.
it's always fogged in, so it was clear, and the Milky Way was going to be out around 2 to 5 a.m. Right, so we left around like 10 or maybe 9 and drove down, and we drove down here, and the moon was still up. So that's what you see as the light on the bridge. So the
Oh,
moon
okay.
was to the west, which was the left here, and that's what's lighting up the bridge, and then kind of
The mountain, the hill right
yeah
here on
yeah
this side.
yeah, and then right past, I forget what's right past that mountain, but there's some town that's what's getting that light off the top of them of the mountain, and the car. Uh, so this was a it was just not busy at all. So that's actually me driving, and my friend set up, he hit the a trigger on my camera because like we just couldn't there were just not any cars coming, and I was just like, man, like it's cold, like
Yeah.
it's
That
cold, it
seems
was
like a running
windy.
theme. Is it's cold and you're outside and
Yeah,
it's 1 a.m.
yeah, and I'm like, man, let's just get the shit done and let's go, because we're just standing out here for like 10-15 minutes waiting for cars. So I did it. And that's what we got. I was like, all right, I've got uh we we figured it for to do a bulb mode and wanted to keep it under a minute. So I was like, all right, let's go. And
Yeah.
I was actually able to make it to the other side of the frame,
Yeah.
so it's a
That's
full,
great.
the full shot. So
That is great. Yeah, that is cool. It's what were you on like a hill? I don't remember there being a hill there, but I guess there's a lot of
yeah,
hills.
yeah. So this mountain that they have here on the right, they cut through it. So on
Oh,
the other side, so where the camera is the edge of the other side of this hill.
I see. I
Um,
see.
and there's a little trail up there, and they say that there's what, a poison oak up there, right? You know Maybe. I didn't get any, but that's what folks are saying, because other folks came up and went down, because we got there. uh Actually, no. So maybe this wasn't midnight, because we were there for sunset too. So this was in April. So sunset was probably what, like 8, right? Maybe. So this maybe is like 11,
Okay.
maybe. Um, but either way,
Yeah,
it was cold, um, and we made it work.
that's cool. Well, let's keep digging in.
Sure.
This
Blue
was
Blue Ridge
beautiful.
Parkway, man.
Okay, I was just talking about this
Um,
place with a friend. I love these cloud formations.
yeah, man. So this is actually just a couple of weeks ago. This
Wow.
was October, I don't know, 10th or something. Uh So, and then I actually went back the next week, and because there's a lot of green here in these trees, right? So this was 1 week early for peak. So then the next week I went back and it was windy. So while I got some good photos, but with the long exposures, all the trees are blowing. So, that's part of the chase, right? So next year I'll do it again.
Yeah.
I'll head out again, the same spot, right? And hope for so it was raining the day before. This is sunrise, and that is the rain clouds down there starting to burn off as they you know came up the hill. um and uh and yeah, so yeah, I mean, this is a famous spot here. This is the Lynn Cove Viaduct. It's the last
Okay.
part of the Parkway to be built,
Cool.
back in like the 80s, I think.
How far away is this from where you're living?
This exact spot is 2.5 hours
Okay.
from me. Yep.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's I wish I had someplace that beautiful 2 hours from me. It's a little bit flat right here in Texas. So
Sure,
this
sure.
is so we're getting into the Golden Gate Bridge, which you like kind of study, and I selected. I kind of sort of ordered them, um, but I like the way that you capture this like this familiar subject. This like you capture this over and over again, like
Yes.
differently every time. You like obviously like there's understandable fascination with it. It's beautiful. It's in a beautiful place, and so the way that you shoot it like all different ways, all different aspects. And so I just want to run through these and then we'll go through them and you can talk about them. But
Sure.
I like how it's like, I don't know, I kind of put these in an order where it gets a little more abstract. I like how you find these unusual angles and vantage points. Like
Mhm.
that's super cool, that perspective. Like this one, I really liked because my eye was so drawn to the reflection first.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like you could have cropped out the bridge, you could have cropped it at the fog, and it was like
That's
because
an interesting edit.
it's like
I'll
it's
I'll
my
look at
this seemed like the center to me,
Mhm.
just when I naturally looked at it, and I love like, oh, it's like it's still iconic even as like so obscured and so
Mhm.
blurry because it's in the ripples, so it's cool. And then this one, like I really dig this too because it's like just
Do
like
you
a glimpse of it.
do you see the biker down there?
Yeah, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, yeah, it was
That's
this
cool.
this guy in a neon jacket.
Yeah, that high vis isn't fooling around. It
Yeah,
works.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and then this one's probably less abstract than the others, but I do love just like just the like just these textures.
So
It's
this
so
is
stark and
from the others. So two images back, you have yeah.
yeah,
So and it's just from the other side of the bridge, but
yeah,
with fog, obviously, right? But it's the same lineup, just on the Marin side.
yeah. But that light, like the crispness and those just the light shadow is cool. Like the perfect moment. Um, so yeah, that's cool. But yeah, let's tell me about these
Yeah.
and tell me about with a bridge and tell me about what what do you like about shooting something familiar to you versus like shooting something new and
Sure.
which is more of a challenge.
So the Golden Gate Bridge is special to me, period. Right? Like I think it's so famous. It's such a cap on like this is San Francisco, right? Like yes, everybody shoots this bridge.
It was
So
back when we could build things in America and like get something done.
that's a whole other story. But yes, I hear you. Um, so uh, so like for me, so uh living in San Francisco and being a photographer in San Francisco is actually really what led me to this kind of like storm chasing thing, because in San Francisco you've got a lot of weather chasing, right? So because of where this is and how the city is and how the fog works and like all of that, most times this spot is foggy, right?
Yeah.
For sunset, right? So this photo is at sunset. It's Marshall's Beach, which you can also get to from Baker Beach.
Was it cold? I have to make sure it was.
Of course. But that's always San Francisco, right?
Right.
So because this water is like 45 degrees. So and of course, with this being the first time here, where it was not prepped at all, had on sneakers, right? Sneakers, and the water is like knee deep. You know, so like you're just out there, man. I messed up my Me Photo tripod. I got the salt all up in it, and like, it worked well for like a week after, and then like it stopped like sliding down and stuff. The salt water like ate the color off my sneakers. but so this photo was at the end. This was like December. It was at the end of December 2018. And one of the interests. So like for me, because the Golden Gate area is always changing with the fog, with the clouds, with will there be a sunset, a sunrise? How high will the fog be? Will it be low fog? Will it be fogged out? Will it be, whatever, right? That you never really know until you're there. I mean, yeah, you can kind of track some of it, but you're just kind of there, right? And like it happens, and then it's just like, oh, like who knew that the wispy clouds would move from over top of this bridge and make a line kind of on the top of the photo, right? Like who knew? And then the sun is coming from the left side and it lit up the sky, right? Like it's just there, and the bridge won't change, right? The bridge is the same, the landscape is the same, but the weather changes, and I guess weather is, because I don't know, the fog is kind of its own thing, I guess, but but it changes, right? In a couple minutes, you can go from, hey, there's the bridge, to okay, now it's all fog and I can't see a thing, and I drove an hour up here in traffic for nothing, and and even going back to places that I have shot several times. I mean, this, for anybody who's done this walk down here, it's brutal to get down and then to get back up. It's I don't know, it's probably like 10 stories of steps. It's pretty brutal, but I've done it a couple times, right? Because you keep wanting that next shot, and like on this one, I have several photos from this night, but like, I caught the perfect wave recede, with the sunset, and then it's like, I'm annoyed because this guy in the green jacket is over there on the rocks, and like, I really want to do this photo again, but it's a long way away. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just, you just keep chasing the weather is really my like overall theme. I mean, like it's always like, what is changing, even in a area that was local to me for 4 years, and that everybody photographs, but like, yeah, you go out and you just chase it and you keep doing it,
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you need to go back to this spot, because this is like, it seems like as good as it gets, but I mean, then again, it's like you never know, so
you never know, man.
You gotta go back.
Low fog is a thing, right? Like, I think it would be crazy to get this photo with that fog that's under the bridge, like,
fun.
yeah. Like, yeah. So if if you were at the other spot, like I wonder how that would look,
Yeah.
right? Like the bridge is half engulfed in fog, but it's not so engulfed. Like it would have been hovering above the water,
Yeah.
like that must have been a pretty cool photo, right? So,
Yeah.
I got to go back and do that now,
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's always something about it,
For sure.
So now for this one, uh, we're gonna let folks guess on the location, but it's near the bridge somewhere. And this was a low fog day, right? So, well, actually, no, sorry. I guess low fog is when it's actually under the bridge deck, but essentially, the fog was wrapping around the bridge, and I went specifically to this spot on purpose because I wanted to see how it looked, and that's the photo I got. So that was very planned. So this was I was somewhere else, and I was like, oh, look at the fog. Let me go here, and
Yeah.
right. Whereas there's a lot of most of my photos of Golden Gate are like, oh wow, look at this,
Like it's clear. Like I got it in the rare moment where it was
Yeah,
clear.
but this one was definitely more planned. I was somewhere else, and then I came over here to get this specific photo. So
Yeah. No, I always love like an element of mystery in photos, and like that's one of my favorite things. And so having like the darkness of the foreground, like, the crustiness is really cool too, but the darkness of the foreground and then just how the bridge disappears, like,
yep,
it's cool when you can do that. It tells like so much more of a story than if it was just like a clear day.
yep.
It would still be a cool shot, but
And I've done this
definitely
exact
gives it a
photo on a
mood.
clear day, and you were absolutely right. It does not. Yeah. It loses its specialness. Like yes, fogged in or rained in. I have one. It's actually my highest selling photo that I took in 2017 at this place. And it was just a rainy day, just a random rainy day. And like, yeah, it just like the bridge is there and it just fades off,
That's cool.
and yeah, I mean, and then I came back on a bright sunny day and I'm like, it doesn't do it,
Yeah,
it doesn't do it.
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, this the goldenness, like, and I can tell from your shots, like you're not doing a lot of like hard, like strong, like harsh, like over edited, like you're not manipulating the color. So
Yeah.
when it looks this color, like I know that it, like, oh, it really was this gold, like the sky
Yeah.
was this warm.
The Golden Gate.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, this is from it's actually called the Golden Gate Overlook, like on Google Maps. It's actually right near the entrance to the beach photo. Like up at like the higher part, and you got to walk down to get to the beach. But this one is this is actually at the same spot as the fog one that you said, with the biker.
Okay.
Same photo, just
Right.
in this
This one.
one.
Sorry. Wait,
No,
no, not
no,
this
no,
one.
no, no. The one,
This
yeah,
one.
that one, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so essentially, you're just like I was just standing in between the trees
Oh, okay.
instead of standing back.
I got you. Oh, that's
And
cool.
then this was shot with I rented a Sigma 150 to 600 to do the photos of the Blue Angels flying
Okay.
around.
Yeah,
And so
I've
this
got that
is a
lens
600.
actually.
Okay, yeah. That thing's heavy. Yeah, yeah. So I rented that, and then I was just like, oh, let's see how far it can zoom, and I set it up, and that's the shot I got.
That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah, and we talked about this one a little bit, but yeah, just nice colors, and I think well, you don't want to hear me ponder aimlessly about where I think things are because I don't know the area too well. But yeah, why don't you talk about it?
So this from Fort Baker. It's just the other
That's it.
side of Fort Baker. It's I, I guess just like the far side of it. I guess you would call it. I don't know, but it's if you just keep following the road and you'll go out to this little parking lot here. And there's actually one that I took either right before this or right after, and there was someone walking out to fish. So they're on this ledge here, and you've got the photo of them and then their reflection in the water, which is really dope.
Yeah.
And I, I don't know if I've ever posted it. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to post it. But yeah, this was just like again, a random, like, I was out shooting photos, of course, but I was just out, like, and I'm like, wow, there's low fog, like it was just there, and I was just like, well, photo shoot time, and and that's just like really part of, I think, what, at least for me, what makes San Francisco and specifically the Golden Gate area just like such a treat to photograph. Like, it's always different, you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, unless it's like the same of being fogged out or like being, no clouds or whatever. I mean, that happens too, um like, you just don't get, you don't get other weather changes in other cities like this, right? That,
No. No.
that it can be anything quickly too, uh
What's so striking about this scene in this weather is that you have this fog and it's like, but it's so isolated. Like the sun is shining on everything else. Like you see the
yeah,
sunlight, the shadows.
exactly.
Like on the top of the Golden Gate, you see the hard shadow, and then just 100 feet below, it's like it's a whitewash. So
Exactly. And
it's
this was at
really unusual.
sunrise, and the sun was actually right behind me, so it was shining on the bridge itself. Yeah, or very, maybe very shortly after sunrise, but it was very low sun,
Oh yeah,
to
yeah.
shine right on that. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, and then this one we talked about a little bit. Yeah, I love, again, like it's a cool vantage point. It's
Yep.
just like it's like a small reminder of the
Yeah,
bridge.
yeah. And so this was actually the first time I ever shot low fog, and there's, I mean, several other photos from the other side of this. It was it was low fog and a crazy sunrise from the other side. And this was actually a photo that was just completely random happen. Um we were done, right? Like, we had set our, we had sat out on the other side of the bridge and talked to people, like, we were done shooting. It was a breakfast time, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, hey man, let's go and drive by this place and just see if the fog is doing anything over there, right? Because so the sunrise is coming in from, so kind of from like the right side of this photo, of behind you, would be where the sun would have been coming in from.
Okay.
And it was like, okay, I mean, because the fog had kind of dissipated on the Marin side. So it's like, all right, let's check it out, right? We're gonna head back, past there anyway. We were headed down to get some breakfast down in, I don't know, I forget the section, but we drive up, and it was like, holy shit! Like, is half the bridge visible? You know, and so we stayed here for like an hour, and like right behind this tree there's other trees, and the sun was shining through those trees, and creating like the the sun rays, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and like we met some random guys out there. I took a photo. They were there were two guys standing in between these trees, right? Just minding their own business. And I took their photo, and they're like looking, straight ahead at the bridge, and they're just centered right in between the trees and the fog and the bridge. And I was like, oh man, that's a crazy photo. And then I took this one here. I feel like that particular day was just like the day that the fog just kept on giving us photo after photo after photo. We were out there like 3-4 hours of just
Wow.
low fog Golden Gate photos, and like they all came out great. There was
That's
not a
great.
bad photo in there.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and then this one we talked about, and I love these texture. This probably was that with that same lens.
This was no, this actually the 100 to 400.
Okay.
By this point, so this was no, actually this would have been the 100 prime. I didn't have the 100 to 400. This was July of 19. I
Okay.
bought the 100 to 400 in July 20. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Cool. Very cool. And then yeah, we got like 3 more
Oh yeah.
images, but yeah, this is like these are the sunrays you're talking about. I call this
Yeah.
godlight.
Yeah, this is the famous Point Reyes Cypress Tree Tunnel. I think most people chase this particularly same photo. Again, it's just a random thing, right? Like you really got to get the fog has to be right? So
Yeah.
like I've been to this so many times, and it's either wrong, or there's no fog, or there's too much fog, or the the sunrise is cloud, something, right? Like, something where it doesn't do that, you know.
Right. Yeah,
Then
too much fog or not enough.
yeah, and then it does that, and it's like, oh yeah, there it is, so this was on Thanksgiving morning, uh 2018, and this
Okay.
photo only happened. Let's see, my son was 6 months at the time, and he had gone with his mom back to the East Coast to be with family there, and they were supposed to fly back, and it was that wildfire, the one in
Oh,
Santa
yeah.
Rosa, and it had made the air in the bay, really bad. And I was like, so in San Francisco, for those who don't know, you don't really have air in most places, right? Because it's never really hot, so you just use your windows to keep your house cool. Um, so I was like, okay, well, we don't want you couldn't have the windows open during this time because of the smoke from the wildfires. So I was like, all right, a 6-month-old probably shouldn't be back, right? So they, change their flight or whatever. Um, and I was like, okay, well, I'm free on Thanksgiving now. So, I was like, well, might as well head out.
Yeah.
And I did, and I don't know if the rays being like that were helped by the smoke. I don't know if the smoke was over this far, because
Yeah.
this is pretty far over at the coast, but maybe, I don't know, or maybe just enough smoke where it did that. So
Yeah. That's beautiful. And I think the last 2 are the lights,
yeah,
the 9/11
yep,
lights.
yep. Which I guess we covered that earlier in the.
No, yeah, but please, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've always wanted this photo. I mean, just New York. While I've never physically lived in the city, New York, man, I love the city. I I love all of it, rats and all. I love it.
Yeah.
Um,
Who doesn't love
it,
the rats?
it is my favorite city in the country. Um, Photo wise and just being there wise,
Wow.
So I've really always wanted this photo, and then now being back on the East Coast, it being the 20 years, my sister living there and letting me stay at her house, all of those things, right?
Yeah.
Factor into let me go and do it, and then it happened to be perfect weather, right? I mean, it was like 75 degrees, where they could have been cold and raining. It was 75. I think it would have been cool to have some clouds in the sky, but obviously you can go back another year, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful day, and night, really. I mean, I was actually able to wear shorts all night, which I had not
Yeah, because it's always cold when you shoot.
expected. Yeah, 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 right. But September in Manhattan, it's not always 75, right?
Right.
So
It
uh,
could really be either extreme in
it,
September.
it can, yeah, 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 yeah. So you know, and then yeah, I mean, this is, I don't know, man. I just love the city. I've been going since I was a child, small child. Um, so yeah, I've just always wanted that experience, and then
Yeah.
this right here,
I love this perspective looking like all the way down Manhattan from Midtown.
yeah. So in my personal opinion, this vantage point is the best skyline view in Manhattan.
Is this Top of the Rock?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I'm familiar with. I lived there actually after college for a couple
nice.
years,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, I'd always have visitors, and they'd be like, "I want to go to Empire State Building." I'm
Yep.
like, "No,
Like,
no, we're going
no,
to Top of the
don't.
Rock."
Yes, yes. Because the Empire State Building costs way too much.
Oh yeah,
Um, I mean, it's nice. I've been once. Right. It's fine.
yeah,
But
yeah. The vantage point's not as good, and the wait
yeah.
is always like 4 times longer, and
Always.
you're kind of pushing and shoving to get pre-COVID. I don't know about now, but you're it was really tight and confined. Whereas
Yep.
at the Rock, it's like you've got 3 tiers
Yep.
of shots. So
And then also
was
you
this through the
see the Empire
glass?
State Building.
Yeah, you
No,
can see
no,
Empire
no, no,
State
no.
Building.
No, I always go on the roof. Always.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's right. There is the roof part where it's just a little rock wall because it's not like you would just fall down to the second
which
tier or
I'm sure
whatever.
would still hurt.
It
It's
was still
probably
hurt.
it's
Yeah.
probably like a 20-foot fall from concrete
Right.
to concrete. So
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure it would not be pleasant.
Nothing. Nothing to
Yeah,
sneeze at.
yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, I almost exclusively only just like walk straight upstairs. Like I don't even. I mean, I've been here so many times that I generally don't even stop at the glass ones anymore. I
Yeah.
just just I know where I'm going, man. Just I'll see upstairs. And and yeah, I've actually always um in this being my favorite vantage point, I've always thought like, oh, that would be crazy to get it with the lights, right?
Yeah, it's like perfectly framed in
Yeah.
there.
So that was my first stop that night. I headed out, and this was like right after sunset. Like this was maybe, I don't know, like 7 o'clock,
Hmm.
and like this kind of started the night, and then it was the next 12 hours of shooting photos. you know,
Wow. That's a lot of, I mean, that's a lot of work. Like it is it's so tough to get around New York, especially like now when I go back. I'm like, how does anyone deal with this?
I actually used
It's
the
tough to
city
get
bike.
around. You what?
I used
Use
the
the
city
city?
bike. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
I
brilliant.
uh
With a tripod and everything?
yeah, man. I got that day pass,
Okay.
and I was trying to find, of course, the electric bikes, but they weren't at every place. But so coming up from the Lower East Side, I mean, it's what about 10 blocks north, and then what what 4 avenues, west, and I mean, it's not horrible. And then from here, let's see, I went from here. Oh man, I don't even remember anymore. But I went back to the Manhattan Bridge at some point. So I biked from Lower East Side to here, and then from here at least back to the Manhattan Bridge before going back to get my sister's car. So I don't remember my exact path, but I mean, I think I put on about 15 miles on the
Wow.
bike that just that night before going back to get the car.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we're about to wrap up here, so, but I think the overarching theme is like, you uh doing the work and being in the place and sticking it out, being uncomfortable, and like, no, I'm gonna shoot here for an hour or 2 hours or however long it takes. Like, I'm getting rained on, or I'm standing in salt water.
Yep.
Like, and that's hard, and I think that's like a really good lesson for anyone that wants to do the kind of stuff that you do. Is like, you're not gonna, don't expect to waltz in and take the shot and walk away and be done. Like, you got to really like study these places and like go back and try it again and again, and just yeah, it's cool, and yeah, like it's really great to see.
Sometimes it does happen where you just show up and like, oh, boom, got it, done.
Yeah,
But yeah, no more. Yeah, more. It's researching sun angles and
yeah,
like for those lights, right? It was like, okay, so see how it lines up with the buildings, and you gotta. I mean, I guess I have an advantage by knowing the city really well, but
yeah,
like just yeah, I mean, just knowing kind of what you want to see, and then how to plan it, and the same thing with like the moon rises and to get stuff lined up. Yeah, it's there's a lot of work that goes into the
yeah.
photos, for
A lot of
sure.
prep, a lot of
For
prep.
sure.
Well, thank you to Sean Haley, who commented. He said, when we were talking about the wildfires, he says, is brilliant images. A shame what happened at that park. Do you have anything do you want to promote? We've got the link to your Instagram, but everyone should definitely check out and follow your Instagram. Your link to your web store and portfolio is in
Mhm.
the description too. So, you have anything you want to like coming up, or anything you're planning on shooting?
Um, I don't think I have any more photos planned for at least for December. Really just gonna be around the house. I run the sales on my wall art and my prints, so those that usually keeps me pretty busy there in December. Um, and that's all on my site in my store. Um, and then I think probably starting January, February, I'm gonna start to go chase some snowstorms.
Oh, that's cool. I look forward to seeing that.
The that Blue Ridge
From the
photo,
warmth, I'll be watching. I'll be scrolling and looking at that.
man. Hopefully they'll get your a power grid working this year.
Oh my god, I
Um,
know. It's such an embarrassment.
um,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, that a Blue Ridge photo that you liked. My goal is to get that because they shut it down if it snows. So my goal is to get that part of the road covered in snow, right? So no, so fresh snow, right? So
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure that out. So
Oh wow.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Big
That's
hike.
part of the planning, right? Because you can't drive up there, you can't take an ATV, so you got to walk. But it's a road and it's
Yeah.
covered in snow.
Maybe you could just fly a drone to that spot.
Technically, you can't fly drones there, but I
Oh,
hear you.
okay. Like a state park or something?
Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah. I
okay.
mean, plenty of folks
Yeah.
do, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but
We don't encourage doing
we
that on here.
we don't. I'm
No.
going to be out there with the actual camera, actual lens, uh,
Perfect.
freezing. I'm sure.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for everyone for watching. And yeah, we'll call it a show, but we'll see you next time. Thanks again.
Appreciate it.